the number one fear that haunts the narcissist after they discard you. It may not always appear this way. And they don't want you to think that they are haunted or disturbed by anything that has happened. They may often just want you to think that they can move on without a care, as though they're not really bothered. And it's just you now who is going through the chaos, the disturbance, the calamities as a result of their actions. This is often how they want you to think. Although sometimes if they see an opportunity to do so, they will play the victim. They will run a smear campaign and tell everyone that it was your fault. When the narcissist was with you, initially they manipulated you. They wore a mask. They made you believe that they were something that they're not, in order for them to get in with you. In order for them to have things that the way in which they wanted them to. And so they made you believe in a lie, an illusion, a fantasy, something that wasn't even real, something that didn't even exist. And of course, with time, you began to realize that something was not right. You began to question, wonder, where is this thing that they initially promised to you? The connection, the relationship, the future. You become suspicious about maybe if it was just all a lie, future faking. You begin to press them, confront them, and they begin to feel threatened, insecure, which then causes them to become even more controlling. And then they're all over you. Then they're just trying to keep you down. They're trying to crush you, keep you submissive to them, while also dependent on them for validation. Because they want to continue taking from you. And of course, that's the reason why they targeted you initially, was out of envy, because they wanted from you. But then when you start expecting something in return, they then try to get you to doubt your worth and the value of what you're giving to them. To make you think that it wasn't that good or that something was wrong with it. This is when the devaluation phase begins. And they may also triangulate you as well, compare you to other people, to make you feel unworthy, irrelevant, or insignificant. As though you have to do better, you have to do more. So that you don't ever look at them and realize that they're not doing anything with you. They're just draining you, they're keeping you down, they're making you miserable. They're not anything like they said they would be. And yet it's like it's all on you now, as though you have to do better for them. And of course, by them keeping you in this state, in this condition, it makes them feel better about themselves. To have this powerful person who they initially envied, and all of the things that they targeted for, to have all of that under their control, at their disposal, where they now feel like they have power over you. They've got you all to themselves. They've isolated you. They love that feeling, and this is why they do it. But of course, this does set them up for a lot of fear and paranoia in the end, from using you as their source of supply. And of course, since you're giving out constantly, you're constantly providing to them and getting nothing back in return, they do become very jealous and paranoid. They fear that you may reject them, and they're just waiting for it to happen. And this is why they use all of these tactics like devaluation, triangulation, and gaslighting. Anything they can to keep you submissive and under their control, to where you're not even questioning them or standing up for yourself. But of course, when you do become too much to handle, then they no longer feel safe or comfortable. Then they start to worry that you may just expose them. They fear that you may go and tell other people about what they've been doing to you and how they've been keeping you in this submissive, dependent role as their personal caretaker. And of course, that's not going to look good on them. That's going to ruin their credibility, their false image. So of course they don't want that to happen. They don't want anyone to think that anything is wrong with them, because they want to continue getting supply. And so typically what they will do is they will get to them before you do. If they fear, if they suspect that you could go off and tell other people about the things that they've been doing, how they were manipulating, gaslighting you, deceiving you, exploiting you. So this is why they want to beat you to the punch. They want to tell everyone before you do. They want to run a smear campaign on you. Although, of course, many of you may not even be thinking in that way. You may not be thinking about going off and telling other people about what they've been doing to you. And instead, you may just want peace. You may just want to move on with your life and just forget about it all. And you may soon realize that that's not even what they want you to do. Because of course, by you being happy, by you being successful and moving on, that exposes them too. Because it makes it look like to everyone, how is it that all of that time you were kept down? You weren't feeling too well, you weren't too happy. All of these things were going wrong in the relationship. And the narcissist was making it out like you're crazy. And as though everything that you were saying about them was wrong. So how is it that you can then move on and then everything gets better for you? Of course, they do fear that. And can make them look bad in front of everyone. And this is why they work overtime to control the narrative, to control people's perceptions of you and them, so that people see you differently. Because otherwise it's not going to go very well for them. So this is their greatest fear. This is what really haunts them after the discard, is that you will move on and be successful without them, and that things will get better for you. Because as well, while they were with you all of that time, they were using you as a source of supply. And how you were doing was tied to their identity. It was tied to their false self. it was all just based off of you. If they could keep you down, if they could control you, then they felt more secure within themselves. It was a false self. And they remain dependent on you even after you're gone. Even after you try and move on, they're still there, they're still watching you. They're still spreading rumors about you, discrediting you, trying to control you. Because it regulates them, it makes them feel more secure. While when they're on their own, while they're without you, while they don't have access to you, then there's really not too much that they can do. And they're just left with the feelings of jealousy, paranoia, wondering what you're doing, who you're with, wondering if you're doing better without them and if other people are seeing it. Even if they're not, sometimes it's just a fantasy in their minds. They worry about these things. And, you know, they're very jealous of your independence, the way that you can just be you. Because it's not like that for them. That's why they trained you into becoming their caretaker, into being someone who takes care of them, to where you just forget about yourself and you make your life all about them. And all you can think about is how you can just make them feel better. They despise your independence. They despise your autonomy. Just your own separate being, your own separate self. Because it's not like that for them. They have to be tied to someone. That's how they feel more complete. When they've got someone who's just hanging off of them. But of course, for us, that's draining. We want to be in our own separate being. We want to have our own separate sense of self. So that we can just live our own lives. But that's just it. They can't live their own lives after all of the things that they have done to people. After all of the things that they have done to you, that doesn't feel good for them. They've got to manipulate people. They've got to have people under their control. They've got to turn people into their puppets. They've got to be pulling the strings. That's the only way that they can feel comfortable now. Because deep down they feel very insecure. They just feel inadequate. And that's why to see you moving on, to see you being happy and successful, it makes them feel rejected. And they fear the potential of exposure as well. And they're very jealous. They're very jealous of you moving on and of things getting better for you. Maybe Reese says, we can't cure you. I have no idea why that is. Can you hear me now? I mean, there doesn't appear to be any microphone issues, signal issues, nothing. There is nothing that I can see that's even any kind of issue on my end here. I'm just seeing your comments that you can't hear me. Celix says we can hear you clearly. All right, well, I'm going to keep going for those of you who can still hear. For those of you who can't, maybe check your network connection or your audio setup. I'm not sure what's going on there. But the sound appears to be clear for everyone else. So anyway, yeah. This is their greatest fear after discarding you. And, you know, you may remember before they didn't feel so comfortable about you having your own separate being outside of them, you not being tied to them, you having your own independence, you doing your own thing. They weren't ever comfortable with that. And that's why they then turned against you. That's why they then began devaluing you. That's the reason why. They did it because they were uncomfortable with your separate being. When you're separate from them, when you're just two separate people, they feel inferior, they feel inadequate. They feel like they're nothing in comparison to you. So what they have to do then is hold on closely to you. Keep you near them. It makes them feel better. And for you, it doesn't feel good because you like yourself. You feel comfortable in yourself. You're satisfied with yourself. And it's the same thing with the triangulation. You know, when they compare you with other people, they're bringing other people into your space, bringing them closer to you, tying them to you. And it just feels very uncomfortable for you because you just want to be you, regardless of who the other people are. You just want to be in your own separate being. That's what feels good for you. But for them, seeing you being at a distance, seeing you being separate from them, that doesn't feel good for them. And this is why they try any possible way to hold on to you, to keep you stuck, to keep you tied to them. And they don't ever want to let you go. This is why they're so controlling. It's because they're insecure. They want to control your movements. They want to control people's perceptions of you and your perception of yourself. Because what it all comes down to is that they just don't like how you could be happy and satisfied with yourself and they can't. It doesn't get to be like that for them. And of course it doesn't, because of all of the things that they've done. Because of how they've treated you. And because of the way that they came in seeking to manipulate and exploit you. They were around you, and from the very beginning they knew that they did not deserve you. And so it just makes them feel so much shame. It makes them feel inadequate. And they're constantly just trying to run away from that. And they do that by just putting it onto you. By making you feel like there's something wrong with you. All the while you're doing and you're putting out for them. You're trying to be the best person that you can be for them. But no matter what you do, it's never good enough because they're not good enough for themselves. And nothing you do is ever going to make them better. And yet that doesn't define your worth. That doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. Although that's exactly how they want you to think. They want you to think that these are your issues, when actually no, it's to do with them. The reality is that you were good enough all along. You were good enough at the very beginning. And this is what makes them so jealous, possessive, and controlling. Because otherwise they wouldn't be that way. They're only that way because they know that you're something of value. Because they know that you're of benefit, you're of use to them. You're an advantage. The problem is that they just want you all to themselves and they don't even want you to have you. It's their number one fear, is you going off, you moving on with everything that makes you you. Everything that they try to target, steal, destroy. They fear you going off with all of that, with everything that makes you you. Your qualities, your personality, your charisma, your charm, your personal power, your money and possessions, your connections, just all of these things. Because they know that you got it better than they do. They see that things were going good for you before they came around. They could see that you were doing well, you were happy. I mean, things may not have been perfect for you, but you were doing pretty good. And then when they came around, they just made things worse for you. They know that, they see that. They recognize that they were only taken from you. Of course they do, because that's the only reason why they got involved with you, was to take, never to give or provide, never to make you better. But just to create this illusion of making things better. To make you think that you were with your equal, you were with someone who was on your level. When no, you were around someone who was depleting, depriving you, leeching off you constantly. And this is why they get around us, is because they're not feeling good by themselves. They're not happy or satisfied with themselves, but they see that you are to some extent. They see that you are satisfied with yourself, your life, the things that you have, your qualities. They see that you're happy with it. And they think that if they get in close with you, if they get the things that you've got, if they try to get your qualities to rub off on them, it will make them feel better. And it will make other people look at them in a certain way, and that will make them feel better as well. That's how they're looking at it. The problem is, it never does. It never does. They cannot get the same fulfillment as we do. And it's because they actually envy us. They want everything that we are and everything that's ours to be theirs. And it's never going to be theirs. It's never going to belong to them. And they're never going to be genuinely interested in it either, because all they care about is supply. And this is why they're always fake. No matter what they take from anyone, they're still fake. They're never real. They're never genuine or authentic. They're always just exploitative and manipulative, because they don't have a genuine interest in anything other than just getting constant attention for themselves. And yeah, this is why they get around us, because they want that feeling that we have. The money, the things, our personality, our appearance, all of these things, it doesn't matter to them. They're not passionate about any of it. What they want is the feeling. They see that we feel good, we feel satisfied. That is what they want for themselves. And they try to take it from us. But all they get is narcissistic supply. A little dopamine hit in the moment. That's all that they get out of it. They don't get anything more. And in fact, they then become reliant, dependent on us for it, to provide that to them. And then when we start to catch on, we start to figure them out, what they're doing, of how they're trying to constantly siphon this energy and emotion out of us. And we pull away, we're no longer on that same wavelength. Or we begin to protect our space, we begin to have boundaries. Then they feel the supply slipping away. And they fear that. They fear that loss of control over the supply. And yeah, they feel like they're no longer going to get that feeling from you anymore. Once you began to figure them out, once you begin to slip away, once you begin to realize your own personal truth, your own personal power, as you begin to seek your own freedom, they really don't like that. They hate separation. They hate you just thinking for yourself and doing what you want to do. They want you to remain tied to them so that they can keep getting the energy and emotion from you that makes them feel so much better about themselves. And they get that from devaluing you, putting you down, making you feel like you're nothing. If they can get you to agree with that, you're still giving your energy and emotion to them. You're still giving them supply. But once you start to believe in yourself, your own worth, and who you are, you begin to feel good again. And they can't take that from you unless they make you insecure, unless they make you not like yourself, or make you think there's something that's wrong with you. And so that's what they try and do. Because the last thing they want is to see you moving on, you being happy with who you are, with the things you have, and the value that you can bring to the world, the value that you can share. That's the last thing that they want for you. They do not want you to be you, because they know that they can't ever be themselves. They do not want you to have everything that makes you you, because they lost everything that made them them a long time ago. And that's why this is such a trigger for them. Your authenticity, your wholeness, completeness, they want to constantly take as much as they can. And any time that they see that you're trying to piece everything back together, it makes them insecure again, because it reminds them that they're fake. And this is why they like to run these smear campaigns. They will do anything to keep you trapped, to keep you tied to them in some sort of way, even if it is through other people. And they love it to know, when they see that they've brought you down or that they've affected you in some way, they love to know that they were the cause of it, that they had a negative impact on your life. They just love the thought of that, knowing that they've kept you stuck, they've kept you trapped, they've taken a piece of you away. They love that, because someone took a piece away from them a long time ago, and now they can't be themselves. Now they can't be real, and now all they can do is pretend. And this is why they hate your freedom, your authenticity, your independence, because they know it's never going to be like that for them. And this is why, instead of investing their time and energy into their own lives and focusing on themselves, they're more preoccupied with you and what you're doing. And because of that, now we have to focus on them in order to protect ourselves from further harm. And in some ways, you know, this is actually what they like. They want to keep you worrying about them, worrying about what they're going to do next, anticipating everything. They want to keep you thinking in that way because it makes them feel better. To know that they matter, to know that you care. And it's because deep down they know that they are just irrelevant. And that's why your care, your attention is so important to them. And this is why they put on an act. This is why they're so fake. This is why they give you lies and future faking. They make you believe in things that they can't ever even make a reality. Until you then at some point start to catch on and realize your worth. Because it's like you're able to give and bring this to them, but they can't give back to you. And so you're the one being depleted, you're the one losing. So you begin to realize it then, and then that's when you draw the line, that's when you set that boundary. That's when you try and keep them away, you try and keep them out. Because you realize that their presence is harming you. And yet for them, it's like the life that sustains them. It's what keeps them going. It's being tied to your authentic being. They thrive off your life force, of your existence. That is their sustenance. And this is why they hold on to you. This is why they remain attached to you. And this is why they hate to see you having your own freedom and your own independence, experiencing success, happiness, good health. They hate you having all of these things because they feel like that's taking something away from them. And it's because they view you as an extension of themselves. And as long as they have power over you, as long as they can control you, then it makes them feel better. But what they don't like is when there is that separation. And this is it. Narcissists do not like separation. They do not want to be separate from those who they deem to be worthy targets, good sources of supply. They want to keep them close. They want to remain tied to you. Well, as for us, all we want is to break free. All we want is to be our own authentic selves. But they want to remain attached because that's more beneficial for them. They need to have that supply. And this is why they do everything they can to control you. They'll try and make you insecure. If that doesn't work, then they'll run a smear campaign and they'll get everyone to see you differently, to keep you trapped, to stop you from moving on. When they realize that they can't control you directly, they'll try and control you indirectly through other people. They'll try and get other people to affect you. Because they do not want to see you progressing. They do not want to see you moving forward. Because if you move forward, they feel like they're being left behind. And they can't move forward anyway. But they feel better just by keeping you stuck. Just by holding you back, because they know that they can't go with you. They know that they can't progress, they can't move ahead. And they see that you can. They see that things can improve for you, things can get better. And that's why they just keep trying to pull you back, because they're not going to go anywhere. Otherwise, I mean, think about it. You really think if the narcissists really believed in their own capabilities, if they believe that they could progress, they could move forward, don't you think they'd be investing their time and energy into that instead of investing it into continuing to control and gaslight you, sabotage you? Why would they waste their time? They do because they know that's where their time is best spent. That's where they're going to get the best bang for their buck. That's where they're going to profit the most. They're going to get the biggest return. It's by going straight to the source. It's by going straight to you and getting it right from you. Because otherwise, I mean, think about it, it's kind of like this. You know, I like to put my little analogies in here. It's kind of like if you knew that you have two options, you can invest some money into one option, and it's going to be a certain quality if it's a product or service, and it's going to give you a good return. But then you have another option. If it's a product, it's lower quality, or if it's like a stock, it's a lower return on your investment, which option are you going to pick? Of course, you're going to pick the first option. You're not going to knowingly invest it into something that's going to give you a lower return or a lower quality product. And it's the same thing with a narcissist. They're thinking about where is their time, energy best spent? Where's their greatest investment? And they come to the conclusion that it's not going to be in anyone else other than you. Remember, they're only thinking about themselves. They're not thinking about what this is going to do for you. And that's how it ends up depleting us. That's how it ends up bringing us down. Because they're giving us a faulty product. They're selling us a dream. They're fraudsters, they're con artists, liars. They're making us believe in something that doesn't even exist. And that's where our energy is going. So it starts off at the beginning. You believe in this lie, this mirage, that there's someone that they're not. And then they make you believe that something is wrong with you. And yeah, they give you like an inch of hope that maybe you can fix yourself, make yourself better for them. And finally things will be different. Or that you can finally get them to change. They make you believe in all these things so that you continue giving your energy to it. You continue trying to help them. Because at least by making you believe that you can change things, it keeps you giving them that supply that they need so that they can feel better because their false identity is tied to you. But here's what they will never tell you. What they will never tell you is that this false character that they led you to believe in at the beginning was never real, never existed. It's never going to be something that they can sustain because that's not even them. And not only that, they will never tell you, in most cases, unless they've completely discarded you for good, they're never going to tell you that you will never be good enough for them. You will never be enough. And they'll never tell you that it's because they will never be good enough for themselves. You will never be able to fix or change them. They will never be better. It's never going to happen. They will never tell you any of this because they want you to keep feeding this illusion, this false character. Because that's what powers them. That's what allows them to sustain it so that they can keep getting supply. Because otherwise, if everyone just thought, oh, this false character isn't real, it's never going to be anything. I'm never going to be good enough for it. I'm never going to be what this person needs me to be. And they're never going to change. They're never going to be better or different for me. If you already came to that conclusion, you wouldn't give them anything. You wouldn't be giving them any supply. And this is why your belief is so important to them. They want you to believe in the false character. They want you to believe that maybe you can be better for them if they're not completely done with you. And they want you to believe that you can fix or change them, or that they will change one day and you'll finally get what you want. They want you to believe in all of these things because that benefits them. The reality is, it's never gonna happen. And when you realize that, you take their power away. Or rather, what I should say is that you take your power back. Because that was your power, they took it from you. They make you believe in things that aren't true because it empowers them. Just think about that. Falsehoods, lies, believing in manipulations, gaslighting, fantasies. That empowers them. What empowers us is truth. What empowers us is the acceptance of things that were done to us, things that were wrong, because we live in reality. They do not. The reason why lies, fantasies, gaslighting, manipulations, all of these things, if you believe in it, and even if they believe in it themselves, the reason why that empowers them is because they're running from something that they just don't ever want to accept. They don't want to accept that maybe they're not the person that they're portraying themselves to be. And maybe they are running away from something that happened to them in their childhood, things that were done to them and things that they have done to other people. They don't want to accept the raw truth. And this is why they continue to live a lie. They continue to live in fantasy. This is why they manipulated you. And, initially, we were flattered by it. I mean, fantasies can be fun sometimes, it can be fun to escape. But after a certain amount of time, it's like, can't we start being real now? Can't we start taking responsibility in the relationship and being more sensible and mature? And this is the problem we have with us. They can't meet us there because they want to continue living in the fantasy. They don't ever want to be in reality with us. And this is why we have the problems with them, because we can accept the things that were done to us. We can accept our traumas. We can accept our own mistakes because we want to move forward. They can't. They can't ever move forward. They will always remain stuck permanently. And anything they try and tell you or convince you of, any illusion that you see of them progressing, it's fake. They're never going to progress in anything. This is why everything they do is designed to hold you back. Everything. Every tactic they use, discrediting you, sabotaging you. Everything they do to try and keep you down. It's all because they can't go there with you. They can't heal, progress, move forward. And this is why they hate to see you moving on. They hate to see you being independent because they know you're going to experience growth. You're going to progress. And it's just going to reflect back to them of how they are stuck. They're not going anywhere. It's just going to reflect it back to them how they are imprisoned in their own minds. In this world inside their own heads with a population of one. That's all that it reflects back to them. So essentially it's like death. It reminds them of how they are trapped. And this is why they don't ever want to let you go. They don't ever want to see you moving on. They don't ever want to see you being you. Because they know that they are never gonna be themselves. They know they're never gonna be themselves. As a result of what happened to them in their childhood, and then also what happened after that as well, the things that they've done to other people. As a result of these things, they know they're never gonna be themselves, and this is why many of them are coverts. And even the grandiose narcissists, they're still in some degree kind of covert. I mean, yeah, they're overt about their conquests and maybe even some of the things that they've done to people. But then they're not going to be completely honest about it. They'll still try and justify or rationalize it in some way. And if you ask them about their childhood, they'll just say that it was perfect. They'll be all grandiose about it. So you never get the real truth from them. You never get the raw truth. There always has to be all of this noise, all of this chaos. And it's because of their internal state. They're running away from themselves. They're running away from the pain that they refuse to deal with. And they're never going to deal with it. They're going to live an entire life never finding themselves. And this is why they targeted us, because they envied our authenticity. They envied our strength, our ability to be ourselves. And that, of course, is how we had these feelings. These feelings that we direct towards our passions, our interests, ourselves, our satisfaction with ourselves, our jobs, our money, our independence. That's what they envy. That's what they wanted. And the reason why they could never get it is because they could never accept themselves as the result of all of the things that have been done to them throughout their lives, all of the things that they have done to people. This is what makes up who we are. If you don't accept all of these things, if you're not honest and open about it, then you're not being you. You're being fake. You're living a lie. And that's going to block you from experiencing happiness or fulfillment with anything. Because, just think about it, like, you know, as you may see in my videos, my live videos, I often like to drink some fruit tea. How can I experience that? How can I really enjoy it deeply? Like the flavor of it. How can I enjoy it if I'm not connected to myself, if I'm not honest and authentic with myself? It has to be an interaction between me and the beverage. And that doesn't mean that, of course, you know, if a narcissist drinks a fruit tea, they're not going to taste anything. Yeah, they will taste something, but it's not going to be the experience that we have. And that's just an example. And it's the same thing with any form of connection. For a narcissist, anything they do is a form of escapism. It's to help them to run away, to distract them. It's all just noise. They want to create more noise. So whenever they eat something, drink something, they go on a vacation, they play a sport, they drink, they go to a bar, whatever they do, whatever activity is a distraction for them. That's all that it is. And they don't get any real fulfillment from it directly. And this is why whenever they go anywhere, whenever they do anything, they've got to broadcast it, and it's all just such a big show for everyone. And it's really because they can't get fulfillment from it directly, because they're not really there. They're not even really there. They're not even physically present. I mean, yeah, they're physically present. They're not emotionally and mentally present in that moment. They are more seeing it from everyone else's perspective, seeing how it looks to everyone else. And that's what then validates the false character. And the supply that they get from that is really just them having a moment where they can forget about their insecurities. They can forget about their shame. They can forget about what was done to them and what they've done to people as well. That's all that is. And even then, it's never enough. And this is why they have to run us into the ground. They have to completely, flat out destroy us. Because no person can sustain them. We were not designed to live, to endlessly drip feed another human being. It was never designed to be that way. We were meant to accept ourselves. And that's just it. It's something they don't want to do. And this is why they despise your independence. This is why the last thing they ever want is for you to be free. And this is why initially they were all over you. When they were love bombing you, they wanted to keep you really close. They never wanted to let you go. They couldn't let you be out of their sight for even 5 minutes. They couldn't let you spend any time with your friends. They couldn't let you do anything. You couldn't even take care of yourself properly as you used to. And they tried to take everything from you. Your money, your life, your friends, your family. They wanted it all. Just to polish the false self. Just to help construct this mask. To manipulate as many people as possible. So that they could then continue to run away from themselves. It's really sad, it's really pathetic, but this is what they do because they never want to have to go through the pain. Even though, of course, in the long term, they experience far more pain over time by not just dealing with it. But this is it. This is why they act in this way. This is why their number one fear is you moving on. Even if they were the ones to discard you, they discard you and they hope that you stay stuck. They hope that you never progress. And this is why when they sense that you are progressing, that you are detaching from them, and that you're no longer an extension, then they begin to feel very insecure. Because it's our supply that they need more than anyone else says. They need to ensure that we stay stuck and that we never progress or move on. That's how they need it to be. And it's almost like they have this sixth sense. They can sense it when we're moving on. And it's all because they will never be able to move forward. They will never progress in anything. They will always remain the same. They will always be hateful, abusive, and they will never find enjoyment in anything in life. And that's just it, remember, despite everything you did for them, despite how much you tried to make them happy, you could see they were happy with you. It wasn't good enough for them. It will never be good enough for them. And the reason why is because they're not good enough for themselves. It's because they don't even want to deal with themselves. They use you to run away from themselves, to distract themselves. And this is what they've been doing for a very long time. Always using someone else to make them feel better. And just detaching from themselves, dissociating. Narcissists deliberately try to dissociate throughout the entire day. They never want to live in their own bodies and minds. They never want to be there. And this is why when you're around them, you can't be self-aware. You can't know your true self, your true worth, your true strengths, because they want your self-awareness. They envy you. They treat you as an extension of themselves because they want to be aware of you, of your energy, your qualities in themselves. And this is why, they go off and they live in your energy. They act like they're you with the next supply. And they assume that you're still stuck. They hope that you are, that you're not going to move on. And it's like as soon as they sense that you are moving on, that's when they hoover you. That's when they come back. It's like they just instinctually know it. And it's all because of their childhood trauma, the pain that they can't get over, they can't accept. That's what this comes down to. But this is how you know that this is what they're dealing with, the way that they have to keep you as an extension of them. as someone who takes care of them emotionally, to where you have to sacrifice yourself, you have to abandon yourself, your own self-awareness, your own autonomy. But just think about it, why do you have to do that? You have to do it because they don't have that in themselves. They haven't got it. If they did, they could appreciate that in you. They would respect it in you. They don't respect or appreciate it because they haven't got it in themselves. And this is why they want to keep you close to them, tied to them, and never let you go. Night to Live viewers, give it a thumbs up if you found it helpful so far. I know I'm moving around quite a bit. There's quite a lot of noise outside the door, so by moving around, it kind of helps me to stay grounded in my own energy rather than giving my attention to something else. But yeah, this is what narcissists want you to do. They want you to give your attention to them. They thrive off your attention because it lets them feel like they're anything other than themselves. And of course, that's because you're giving your attention to a false self, something that isn't really them. Of course, you know, we are giving our attention to each other here, but we're being real, we're being authentic. So this is how this strengthens our sense of self. This is why it feels so good when you find this content after dealing with a narcissist. You regain your sense of self, your self-awareness. You regain it by YouTubers such as myself giving my attention to you. I'm giving my attention to the truth. And that's why, I mean, it may not feel good initially. It can be quite traumatic, quite distressing initially, of course. Because, you know, you're accepting the truth. You may have been unaware of yourself for such a long time while dealing with them, because you can't be aware of yourself. You can't have a sense of self while you're around them. You can't be yourself around them. If you were, there would be a lot of fights until finally you're just forced to part ways because you can't coexist. They need you to be unaware of yourself. You want to be self-aware. They will fight to the death for that. Because that's what they want from you, is your self-awareness, your sense of self. That's what gives them supply. It's when they strip that away from you. Because they haven't got that. They died a long time ago. Well, as for us, survivors of this, we want people to be aware of their true selves. That's all we want. We want people to come to the truth, the light. And this is why, you know, it's it may not feel good initially, but gradually it does. You know, when we find communities like this and we come together, because we are uniting with truth, with the facts of what has happened. And that is true connection. That's the only way that you can ever connect to anyone, if you're just real about things. Of course, it's not ever going to be perfect, it's not ever going to be ideal, because reality is not ideal. And yeah, you know, while there may be times, moments to experience a bit of fantasy, to experience a simulation of perfection, Yeah, we could do that sometimes. Why not? But most of the time, we should be grounded in reality. And that's just how it is. Because that's what makes up who we are. It's what we're doing most of the time. What dominates most of our time. That's what makes up our identity. And that's why they really just like to dominate us. They like to dominate our time. They like to be all over us, like a rash, so that we give this to them. And this is why, they like to invalidate you, gaslight you, twist the truth, because that truth is your power. Your power lies in your truth. Your freedom lies in your truth of just knowing who you are, knowing what you went through, knowing what was done to you, knowing what that did to you and how it changed you. That's important as well. Referring to reactive abuse. If it affected you in a certain way and it made you lash out, that's also your truth. And we do have to take personal responsibility because that is our power. If we can trace it back and see how that happened, we can prevent it from happening the next time, and we can stay grounded in our own energy. This is why our self-awareness is so important. It's what gives us ultimate power and control over ourselves and allows us to raise our consciousness. But of course, it's what they don't want you to do. It's to realize who you are. It's to realize your truth. And your truth is everything that made you. Everything that was done to you, affected you, impacted you. They want to cover it all up, and that's how they're just being fake. And they're never going to find themselves. That's never going to be a reality for them. But yeah. I know there's a lot of banging out there. But don't worry, this doesn't go on all day when I'm working in the room. It's typically just when I do a live. But I'm trying my best to stay focused. Because of course, in all of the distractions, it does direct my energy elsewhere. But I'm trying to focus my attention where it's most important, where I can actually prove things. And yeah, with these narcissists, it's a waste of time. You can invest all of your time and energy into them. You're just feeding the facade. You're feeding an illusion. But I can tell you, all of the attention and energy that all of you have invested into me. I mean, you can see my journey since the beginning, and I've definitely become more self-aware. I've definitely begun to question things more and more. And really, this community, making these videos, it has completely helped and changed me in so many ways, because, when you give me your attention, you're giving attention to my true self, to who I actually am, to what actually matters to me, to what means something to me, to what's important to me. And that's how I just lost my train of thought. All of the noise, it rattles my brain a lot, I mean. But yeah, I was trying to do a video outside today because, I know it does get quite noisy in here. There's constantly doors slamming outside, and there's actually only just a few rooms out here, but I don't know what's going on. I'm sure those of you who are my regulars, you should be used to this by now. But yeah, you know, I hope you found this video helpful. And yeah, as I was saying before, I did try to do some videos outside, but there's nowhere to go in this area. So, you know, I'm going to try and take a ride tomorrow, try and do an outdoor video, because at least then I can walk around, you know, I'm not trapped in the room where I'm just subjected to just constant noise and distractions, and so it may be a bit better. And also to get some sunlight. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you did. It's good to see we got more live viewers in this one. I'm going to keep putting out the content, and my content is going to keep improving. It's going to keep getting better. If you see my last few pre-recorded videos, the quality has improved a lot. I keep upgrading everything as much as I can. So yeah, give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to show your support, subscribe, click on notifications. Then you will be notified when I go live again. Your donations greatly appreciated, no matter how small. You can donate by going to my PayPal. It's paypal.me/Narc Survivor. If you would like guidance or support in your healing journey, you can book a one-on-one with me. The link is down below in the live chat, narcsurvivor.co.uk. I also have Instagram, you can follow me there. I've been posting some short videos that you can watch. My Instagram is Narc Survivor YouTube. And also, don't forget to leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about this message. Let me know if you have any other fears of the narcissist that you would like to share. Is there anything else you think the narcissist may fear after discarding us? I'd love to hear from you. I appreciate your feedback. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I will talk to you soon.